1. Religion with no conception of God? Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. This questionnaire was sent to you by Bhavan's Journal, a cultural and religious magazine in Bombay. They are questioning various religious and spiritual leaders, trying to get the answers to some of the important questions that are perplexing people today. So there's a list of questions, and the first is this: is the influence of religion over the masses on the wane? Srila Prabhupada: yes. This is predicted in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.2.1. Tatas Kanyadinam Dharma Satyam Sakam Ksamadaya Kalina Balina Rajanang Siati Ayur Balam Smrishan Kali Yuga. This age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there shall be a waning of these qualities: religiosity, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, memory, bodily strength, duration of life, and mercy. These are the human assets, qualities which make a human being distinct from the animals. But these things will decline. There will be almost no mercy, there will be almost no truthfulness, memory will be shortened, duration of life shortened. Similarly, religion will practically vanish. So that means gradually human beings will descend to the platform of animals. Especially when there is no religion, human beings are simply animals. This any common man can distinguish, that a dog does not understand what religion is. The dog is also a living being, but he's not interested in what is being discussed here about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the distinction between man and dog. The animal is not interested. So when human beings are becoming uninterested in religion, then they're becoming animals. And how can there be happiness or peace in animal society? The big leaders want to keep the citizenry as animals, and at the same time they are striving to make a United Nations. How is it possible? United Animals? Is it possible? Society for United Animals. Laughter. In the science of logic it is said, man is a rational animal. So when rationality is missing, one becomes simply an animal. What is the possibility of being a human being? In human society, whether you are a Christian or a Muhammadan or a Hindu or a Buddhist, it doesn't matter. But there must be some system of religion, that is human society. And human society without religion, animal society. This is the plain fact. Why are people unhappy now? Because they are neglecting religion. One gentleman has written me that Marx said, religion is the opium of the people. That means the communists are very adamant against God consciousness because they think that religion has spoiled the whole social atmosphere. Religion might have been misused, but that does not mean that religion should be avoided. Real religion should be taken. Simply because religion has not been properly executed by the so-called priests, that does not mean religion should be rejected. If my eye is giving me some kind of trouble on account of a cataract, that doesn't mean my eye should be plucked out. The cataract should be removed. So that is the idea of the Krishna consciousness movement, to remove the cataract from people's religious vision. Generally, modern so-called religious leaders have no conception of God, and yet they are preaching religion. What good is that religion? People are simply being misled. Real religion means God's order. Dharmam tu saksad Bhagavat Pranitam, SB June 3, 2019. If your religion has no conception of God, where is the question of religion? Still, without any conception of God, they are professing some religion. How long will it go on artificially? It will deteriorate. That ignorance about God has resulted in the present condition. Religion means the order of God, just as law means the order of the state. Now, if in your social system there is no state, where is the question of the state's order? You will simply manufacture your own order. Today that is going on in the field of religion, there is no conception of God and therefore no following of God's order. But we devotees of Krishna have a clear conception of God. Here is God, Krishna. And He's giving orders. We accept those orders. So it is clear religion. But if there is no conception of God, no order of God, then where is the question of religion? Ask someone in some other religious system what their conception of the form of God is. Can anyone tell clearly? Nobody can say. But we shall immediately say, Venam Kvanantam Aravindadalayataksam Barhavadam Samasitambhuta Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesa Sabam Govindamadi Purasam Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept at playing on his flute, whose eyes are like petals of a blooming lotus, whose head is bedecked with a peacock's feather, whose figure of beauty is tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and whose unique loveliness charms millions of cupids. Brahma Samhita 5.30, immediately, description, here is God. Then there is religion. And if there is no conception of God, where is the question of religion? Bogus. That is why religiosity and the other noble human qualities are declining. People have no conception of God, and therefore there is no understanding of religion. As a result, the whole human civilization is declining. And because it is declining, human beings are becoming more and more like animals. 2. Progressing beyond progress. Pusta Krishna, question number 2? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Pusta Krishna, the traditional charge against Hinduism is that it is fatalistic, that it inhibits progress by making people slaves to the belief in the inevitability of what is to happen. How far is this charge true? Srila Prabhupada, the charge is false. Those who have made that charge do not know what Hinduism is. First of all, the Vedic scriptures make no mention of such a thing as Hinduism. But they do mention Sanatana Dharma, the eternal and universal religion, and also Varnasrama Dharma, the natural organization of human society. That we can find in the Vedic scriptures. So it is a false charge that the Vedic system inhibits the progress of mankind. What is that progress? A dog's jumping is progress? Laughter. A dog is running here and there on 4 legs, and you are running on 4 wheels. Is that progress? The Vedic system is this: the human being has a certain amount of energy, better energy than the animals, better consciousness, and that energy should be utilized for spiritual advancement. So the whole Vedic system is meant for spiritual advancement. Human energy is employed in a more exalted direction than to compete with the dog. Consequently, sometimes those who have no idea of religion notice that the Indian saintly persons are not working hard like dogs. Spiritually uncultured people think the dog race is life. But actual life is spiritual progress. Therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam, January 5, 2018, says, Tasya eva heta prayateta kovita na labhyat yad brahmatam uparyad hatal labhyat dukhavadanyata sukham kalina sarvatra gabhira ramasa. The human being should exert his energy for that thing which he did not get in many, many lives. Through many, many lives the soul has been in the forms of dogs or demigods or cats or birds or insects. There are 8,400,000 material forms. So this transmigration is going on, but in every one of these millions of forms, the business is sense gratification. The dog is busy for sense gratification. Where is food? Where is shelter? Where is a mate? How to defend? And the man is also doing the same business, in different ways. So this struggle for existence is going on, life after life. Even a small insect is engaging in the same struggle, aharanidra bhayamathunam, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Bird, beast, insect, fish, everywhere the same struggle. Where is food? Where is sex? Where is shelter? How to defend? So the Sastra, scripture, says we have done these things in many, many past lives, and if we don't get out of this struggle for existence, we'll have to do them again in many, many future lives. So these things should be stopped. Therefore Prahlada Maharaja advises his friends, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.6.3, Sukhamendriyakam Daitya Diha Yojina Dihinam Sarvatra Labhyat Divadyada Dukamayat Nada. My dear friends, material pleasure, which is due simply to this material body, is essentially the same in any body. And just as misery comes without our trying for it, so the happiness we deserve will also come, by higher arrangement. A dog has a material body and I have a material body. So my sex pleasure and the dog's sex pleasure is the same. Of course, a dog is not afraid of having sex on the street, in front of everyone. We hide it in a nice apartment. That's all. But the activity is the same. There is no difference. Still, people are taking this sex pleasure between a man and woman in a nice decorated apartment as very advanced. But this is not advanced. And yet they are making a dog's race for this advancement. Prahlada Maharaja says we are imagining that there are different types of pleasure on account of different types of body, but the pleasure is fundamentally the same. Naturally, according to the different types of body, there are some external differences in the pleasure, but the basic amount and quality of this pleasure has very well defined limitations. That is called destiny. A pig has a certain type of body, and his eatable is stuli. This is destined. You cannot change it, let the pig eat halava. That is not possible. Because the soul has a particular type of body, he must eat a particular type of food. Can anyone, any scientist, improve the standard of living of a pig? Is it possible? Laughter. Therefore Prahlada Maharaja says that everything about material pleasure is already fixed. The uncivilized men in the jungle are having the same sex pleasure as the so-called civilized men who boast, instead of living in that hut made of leaves, we are living in a skyscraper building. This is advancement. But Vedic civilization says, no, this is not advancement. Real advancement is self-realization, how much you have realized your relationship with God. Sometimes people misunderstand, thinking that sages who try for self-realization are lazy. In a high court a judge is sitting soberly, apparently doing nothing, and he is getting the highest salary. And another man in the same court, he's working hard all day long, rubber stamping, and he is getting not even 1/10 of the judge's salary. He's thinking, I am so busy and working so hard, yet I am not getting a good salary. And this man is just sitting on the bench, and he's getting such a fat salary. The criticism of Hinduism as inhibiting progress is like that, it comes out of ignorance. The Vedic civilization is for self-realization. It is meant for the intelligent person, the person who will not just work like an ass but who will try for that thing which he did not achieve in so many other lives, namely, self-realization. For example, we are sometimes labeled escapists. What is the charge? Disciple, they say we are escaping from reality. Srila Prabhupada, yes, we are escaping their reality. But their reality is a dog's race, and our reality is to advance in self-realization, Krishna consciousness. That is the difference. Therefore the mundane, materialistic workers have been described as mudhas, asses. Why? Because the ass works very hard for no tangible gain. He carries on his back tons of cloth for the washerman, and the washerman in return gives him a little morsel of grass. Then the ass stands at the washerman's door, eating the grass, while the washerman loads him up again. The ass has no sense to think, if I get out of the clutches of this washerman, I can get grass anywhere. Why am I carrying so much? The mundane workers are like that. They're busy at the office, very busy. If you want to see the fellow, I am very busy now. Laughter. So what is the result of your being so busy? Well, I take 2 pieces of toast and 1 cup of tea. That's all. Laughter. And for this purpose you are so busy? Or, he is busy all day simply so that in the evening he can look at his account books and say, oh, the balance had been $1,000, now it has become $2,000. That is his satisfaction. But still he will have the same 2 pieces of bread and 1 cup of tea, even though he has increased his balance from 1,000 to 2,000. And still he'll work hard. This is why karmis are called mudhas. They work like asses, without any real aim of life. But Vedic civilization is different. The accusation implied in the question is not correct. In the Vedic system, people are not lazy. They are very busy working for a higher purpose. And that busyness is so important that Prahlada Maharaja says, Kalmara Karat Prajno, beginning from childhood, one should work for self-realization. One should not lose a second's time. So that is Vedic civilization. Of course, the materialistic workers, they see, these men are not working like us, like dogs and asses. So they are escaping. Yes, escaping your fruitless endeavor. The Vedic civilization of self-realization begins from the Varnasrama system of social organization. Varnasramakara Vada Purasena Parapuman Visnaradhyat, everyone should offer up the fruits of his occupational duty to the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu, or Krishna. That is why the Vedic system is called Varnasrama, literally, social organization with a spiritual perspective. The Varnasrama system has 4 social and 4 spiritual divisions. The social divisions are the Brahmanas, teachers and priests, Kshatriyas, administrators and military men, Vaisyas, farmers and merchants, and Sudras, laborers and craftsmen, while the spiritual divisions are the Brahmacharis, students, Gazas, householders, Vanaprasthas, retirees, and Sannyasas, renunciants. But the ultimate goal is Visnaradhyat, the worship of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, by all. That is the idea. But the members of the modern so-called civilization do not know of Varnasrama. Therefore they have created a society that is simply a dog's race. The dog is running on 4 legs and they are running on 4 wheels. That's all. And they think the 4-wheel race is advancement of civilization. Vedic civilization is different. As Narada Muni says, Tisya hedo prayateta kovido na labhyat yad brahmatam uparyadha, the learned, astute person will use this life to gain what he has missed in countless prior lives, namely, realization of self and realization of God. Someone may ask, then shall we do nothing? Yes, do nothing simply to improve your material position. Whatever material happiness is allotted for you by destiny, you'll get it wherever you are. Take to Krishna consciousness. You'll get these other things besides. How shall I get them? How? Kalina Sarvatra Gabhira Ramasa, by the arrangement of eternal time, everything will come about in due course. The example is given that even though you do not want distress, still distress comes upon you. Similarly, even if you do not work hard for the happiness that is destined to be yours, still it will come. Similarly, Prahlada Maharaja says, Nathat prayasa kartavyam, you should not waste your energy for material happiness, because you cannot get more than what you are destined to have. That is not possible. How can I believe it, that by working harder I will not get more material happiness than I would otherwise have had? Because you are undergoing so many distressing conditions even though you do not want them. Who wants distress? For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was killed by his own countrymen. He was a great man, he was protected by so many followers, he was beloved by all, and still he was killed. Destiny. Who can protect you from all these distressing conditions? So, you should conclude, if these distressing conditions come upon me by force, the other kind of condition, the opposite number, will also come. Therefore why shall I waste my time trying to avoid distress and gain so-called happiness? Let me utilize my energy for Krishna consciousness. That is intelligence. You cannot check your destiny. The magazine's question touches on this point. Pusta Krishna, yes, the usual charge is that this Vedic system of civilization is fatalistic, and that as a result people are not making as much material progress as they otherwise would. Srila Prabhupada, no, the Vedic system is not fatalistic. It is fatalistic only in the sense that one's material destiny cannot be changed. But your spiritual life is in your hands. Our point is this: the whole Vedic civilization is based on the understanding that destiny allows only a certain amount of material happiness in this world, and that our efforts should therefore be directed toward self-realization. Nobody is enjoying uninterrupted material happiness. That is not possible. A certain amount of material happiness and a certain amount of material distress, these both must be present always. So just as you cannot check your distressing condition of life, similarly you cannot check your happy condition of life. It will come automatically. Therefore, don't waste your time with these things. Better you utilize your energy for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Pusta Krishna. So then, Srila Prabhupada, would it be accurate, after all, to say that people who have this Vedic conception would not try for progress? Srila Prabhupada, no. Progress, first you must understand what actual progress is. The thing is that if you try to progress vainly, what is the use of trying? If it is a fact you cannot change your material destiny, why should you try for that? Rather, whatever energy you have, utilize it for understanding Krishna consciousness. That is real progress. Make your spiritual understanding, your understanding of God and self, perfectly clear. For instance, in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, our main business is how to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. We are not enthusiastic about opening big factories with big money earning machines. No. We are satisfied with whatever material happiness and distress we are destined. But we are very eager to utilize our energy for progressing in Krishna consciousness. This is the point. So the Vedic system of civilization is meant for realizing God, Vishnu Aradyat. In the Vedic system, people try for that. Actually, the followers of Varnasrama Dharma, they never tried for economic development. You'll find in India, still, millions of people taking bath in the Ganges during Kumbh Mela. Have you been to the Kumbh Mela festival? Disciple, no. Srila Prabhupada, at the Kumbh Mela, millions of people come to take bath in the Ganges because they are interested in how to become spiritually liberated from this material world. They're not lazy. They travel thousands of miles to take bath in the Ganges at the holy place of Prayag. So although they are not busy in the dog's race, these people are not lazy. Yanisa sarva bhutanam tasiyam jagarti samyami, what is night for ordinary beings is the time of wakefulness for the self-controlled. The self-controlled man wakes up very early, practically in the middle of the night, and works for spiritual realization while others are sleeping. Similarly, during the daytime the dogs and asses think, we are working, but these spiritualists, they are not working. So there are two different platforms, the material and the spiritual. Followers of the Vedic civilization, which is practiced in India, although nowadays it is distorted, actually, these people are not lazy. They are very busy. Not only very busy, but also kalmara karat prajna dharman bhagavat iham. They are trying to become self-realized from the very beginning of life. They are so busy that they want to begin the busyness from their very childhood. Therefore it is wrong to think they are lazy. People who accuse followers of Vedic civilization of laziness or of inhibiting progress do not know what real progress is. The Vedic civilization is not interested in the false progress of economic development. For instance, sometimes people boast, we have gone from the hut to the skyscraper. They think this is progress. But in the Vedic system of civilization, one thinks about how much he has advanced in self-realization. He may live in a hut and become very advanced in self-realization. But if he wastes his time turning his hut into a skyscraper, then his whole life is wasted, finished. And in his next life he is going to be a dog, although he does not know it. That's all. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. Then this question may be raised, if destiny cannot be checked, then why not, when a child is born, simply let him run around like an animal? And whatever happens to him, Srila Prabhupada, no. That is the advantage of this human form of life. You can train the child spiritually. That is possible. Therefore it is said, to si iva hedo pretata covido, use this priceless human form to attain what you could not attain in so many millions of lower forms. For that spiritual purpose you should engage your energy. That advantage is open to you now, in the human form. Ahayatuki Prashihata, pure devotional service to the Lord, Krishna consciousness, is open to you now, and it cannot be checked. Just as your advancement of so-called material happiness is already destined and cannot be checked, similarly, your advancement in spiritual life cannot be checked, if you endeavor for it. No one can check your spiritual advancement. Try to understand this. Pusta Krishna, so, then, we can't say that the Vedic system, or Sanatana Dharma, is fatalistic. There actually is endeavor for progress. Srila Prabhupada, certainly, spiritual progress. As for the question of fatalistic, I have often given this example. Let us say a man is condemned by a court of law to be hanged. Nobody can check it. Even the same judge who gave the verdict cannot check it. But if the man begs for the mercy of the king can check the execution. He can go totally above the law. Therefore the Brahma Samhita, 5.54, says, Karmani nirdahati keen to ca bhakti bhajam, destiny can be changed by Krishna for his devotees, otherwise it is not possible. Therefore our only business should be to surrender to Krishna. And if you artificially want to be more happy by economic development, that is not possible. Pusta Krishna, question number 3? Srila Prabhupada, No. First of all make sure that everything is clear. Why are you so eager to progress? Laughter, try to understand what is what. The first thing is that your destiny cannot be changed. That's a fact. But in spite of your destiny, if you try for Krishna consciousness, you can achieve spiritual success. Otherwise, why did Prahlada Maharaja urge his friends, Kalmara Karat, take Krishna consciousness up from your very childhood? If destiny cannot be changed, then why was Prahlada Maharaja urging this? Generally, destiny means your material future. That you cannot change. But even that can be changed when you are in spiritual life. Pusta Krishna, what is the meaning of aprashihata? You said that spiritual development cannot be checked. Srila Prabhupada, aprashihata means this: suppose you are destined to suffer. So aprashihata means that in spite of your so-called destiny to suffer, if you take to Krishna consciousness your suffering will be reduced, or there will be no suffering, and in spite of any suffering, you can make progress in spiritual life. Just like Prahlada Maharaja himself. His father put him into so many suffering conditions, but he was not impeded, he made spiritual progress. He didn't care about his father's attempts to make him suffer. That state of existence is called aprashihata. If you want to execute Krishna consciousness, your material condition of life cannot check it. That is the real platform of progress. Of course, insofar as your material condition is concerned, generally that cannot be checked. You have to suffer. But in the case of a devotee, that suffering also can be stopped or minimized. Otherwise, Krishna's statement would be false. Aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshayasyami, I will deliver you from all the reactions to your sinful activities. Suffering must befall me on account of my sinful activities, but Krishna says, I will deliver you from all the reactions to your sinful activities. This should be clear. Ordinarily, destiny cannot be checked. Therefore, instead of wasting your time trying to change your economic condition or material destiny apart from Krishna consciousness, you should employ your priceless human energy for attaining Krishna consciousness, which cannot be checked. We see so many men working so hard. Does this mean that every one of them will become a Ford, a Rockefeller? Why not? Everyone is trying his best. But Mr. Ford was destined to become a rich man. His destiny was there, and so he became a rich man. Another man may work just as hard as Ford, but this does not mean he will become as rich as Ford. This is practical. You cannot change your destiny simply by working hard like asses and dogs. No. But you can utilize your special human energy for improving your Krishna consciousness. That's a fact. Disciple, Srila Prabhupada, if destiny cannot be changed, what does Krishna mean when he says, be thou happy by this sacrifice? Srila Prabhupada, do you know what is meant by sacrifice? Disciple, sacrifice to Vishnu, to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, yes. That means pleasing Krishna. If Krishna is pleased, he can change destiny. Karmani nirdahati keen to ca bhakti bhajam, for those who serve him with love and devotion, Krishna can change destiny. So sacrifice, yajna, means pleasing Krishna. Our whole Krishna consciousness movement means pleasing Krishna. That is the whole program. In all other business, There is no question of pleasing Krishna. When one nation declares war upon another, there is no question of pleasing Krishna or serving Krishna. They're pleasing their own senses, serving their own whims. When the First and Second World Wars began, it was not for pleasing Krishna. The Germans wanted that their sense gratification not be hampered by the Britishers. That means it was a war of sense gratification. The Britishers are achieving their sense gratification, we cannot. Alright, fight. So there was no question of pleasing Krishna. Next question, 3. Concocted religion Pusta Krishna, question number 3. It is said that the greatest strength of Hinduism is its Catholicity, or breadth of outlook, but that this is also its greatest weakness, in that there are very few common prescribed religious observances which are obligatory for all, as in other religions. Is it necessary and possible to outline certain basic minimum observances for all Hindus? Srila Prabhupada, so far as the Vedic religion is concerned, it is not simply for the so-called Hindus. That is to be understood. This is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal and universal nature and duty of every living being. It is for all living entities, all living beings. That is why it is called Sanatana Dharma. That I have already explained. The living entity is Sanatana, or eternal, God is Sanatana, and there is Sanatana Dhamma, the Lord's eternal abode. As Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, 8.20, Paras tasmate tu bhavonya vyakta sanatana, yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal. And in the 11th chapter Krishna himself is described as Sanatana. Do you remember? He is described as Sanatana, the supreme eternal. So actually, the Vedic system is called Sanatana Dharma, not Hindu Dharma. This is a wrong conception. This Sanatana Dharma is meant for all living entities, not just the so-called Hindus. The very term Hindu is a misconception. The Muslims referred to the Indian people, who lived on the other side of the river Sind, as Sindhus, actually, due to the peculiarities of pronunciation, as Hindus. In any case, the Muslims called India Hindustan, which means the land on the other side of the river Sind, or Hind. Otherwise, Hindustan has no Vedic reference. So this Hindu Dharma has no Vedic reference. The real Vedic Dharma is Sanatana Dharma, or Varnashrama Dharma. First of all, one has to understand this. Now that Sanatana Dharma, or Vedic Dharma, is being disobeyed, distorted, and misrepresented, it has come to be misunderstood as Hinduism. That is a fake understanding. That is not the real understanding. We have to study Sanatana Dharma, or Varnashrama Dharma. Then we'll understand what the Vedic religion is. Every living entity is eternal, Sanatana. God is also eternal, and we can live with God in his Sanatana Dhamma, his eternal abode. This reciprocation is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal nature and duty of the living being. So Vedic religion means this Sanatana Dharma, not Hindu Dharma. Read the verse from Bhagavad Gita that describes Krishna as Sanatana. Radhavalabha, Tvam aksaram paramam vedatavyam Tvam asya visvasya param nidhanam Tvam avyaya sasvada dharma gopta sanatanas Tvam parusamadami. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the supreme eternal. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. Bhagavad Gita 11.18, Srila Prabhupada, this understanding is wanted. Krishna is eternal, we are eternal, and the place where we will live with him and exchange our feelings, that is eternal. And the system which teaches this eternal system of reciprocation, that is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion. It is meant for everyone. Pusta Krishna, how can people follow Sanatana Dharma on a practical, daily basis? Srila Prabhupada, how are we doing it? Is it not practical? Krishna requests, Manmanabhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. Where is the impracticality? Where is the difficulty? And Krishna promises, Mam avasyasya samsaya, if you do this, you'll come to me. Without any doubt you'll come to me. Why don't you do that? Later Krishna requests, Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam saranam vraya, give up all varieties of concocted religion and simply surrender to me. This is practical religion. Just surrender to Krishna and think, I am a devotee of Krishna, a servant of Krishna. Take this simple approach. Then everything will be immediately done. Real Dharma, real religion, means Dharmam tu saksad bhagavat pranitam. What God says, that is Dharma. Now, God says, give up all this concocted Dharma and just surrender unto me. So take that Dharma. Why don't you take Krishna's instruction? Why do you go outside his instruction? That is the cause of all your troubles. You do not know the difference between this Sanatana Dharma, the real, eternal religion, and your concocted dharma. If you take to some false religious system, then you suffer. But if you take to the real religious system, then you'll be happy. Of course, nowadays India, like the rest of the world, has also given up the real religious system, Sanatana Dharma, or Varnasrama Dharma. In India they have accepted a hodgepodge thing called Hinduism. So there is trouble everywhere, but in India especially, people should know that the real religion is this Vedic system. Vedic religion means Varnasrama Dharma. Krishna says, God says, Chaturvarnyam Mayasrastam, for spiritual and material progress, the 4 occupational divisions of society have been set up by me. So that is obligatory, just as the state law is obligatory. You cannot say, I don't accept this law. No. You have to accept it if you want to have a happy life. You cannot become an outlaw. Then you'll not be happy. You'll be punished. Now, God says, Mayasrastam, this Varnasrama system is given by me. So how can we refuse to follow it? That means we are denying the real religion. Dharmam tu saksad Bhagavat Pranitam, real dharma, real religion, means the order given by God. And God says, Chaturvarnyam Mayasrastam Guna Karma Vibhagasa, for the proper management of human society, I have created these 4 social divisions based on people's qualities and actions. So you have to accept it. Pusta Krishna, this would be the prescription for all people? Srila Prabhupada, for everyone. At the head of the social body there must be the intelligent class of men, who will give advice, then there must be the administrative and protective class, the farming and mercantile class, and the laboring class. This is all given in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra. But when you fully surrender to Krishna, you can give up all the regulations pertaining to these 4 social classes. That is why Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityajya, in the ultimate issue, my instruction is to give up all religious formularies, including even Vedic formularies, and simply surrender to me. Brahmana Dharma, Kshatriya Dharma, Hindu Dharma, this Dharma, that Dharma, give all these up and simply surrender to Krishna, because the ultimate aim of Dharma is to come to Krishna. You directly come to me, then everything is all right. Disciple, so many people concoct their own system and say, this is the way to go to God. Srila Prabhupada, then let them suffer. What can be done? If you don't accept the laws of the state and you manufacture your own laws, then you'll suffer. The state says, keep to the right. But if you make your own law, no, I will keep to the left, then you'll suffer. It's a fact. Krishna is personally advising, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Saranam Vraya, give up all your concocted religions and surrender to me alone. Take his advice and be happy. 4. Caste system cast out Pusta Krishna. Next question, Srila Prabhupada. Will the fundamental values of the Vedic religion be in any way affected by the eradication of the caste system, toward which a concerted effort is now being made at all levels? Srila Prabhupada, the Vedic system of religion we have been describing, the Varnasrama system created by Krishna, is not to be confused with the present-day caste system, determination of social divisions by birth. But as to eradication of all social divisions, it cannot be done. This is still more foolishness, because Krishna himself says, Chaturvarnyam Mayasrastam Guna Karma Vibhagasa, this system of 4 social divisions, according to quality and work, is ordained by me. But the difficulty is that this so-called caste system has come in, on account of the false notion that in order to be a Brahmana, one must be the son of a Brahmana. That is the caste system. But Krishna does not say that. He says according to quality and work. He never says according to birth. So this so-called caste system in India is a false notion of Chaturvarnyam, the system of 4 social divisions. The real system of Chaturvarnyam means Guna Karma Vibhagasa, determination of the 4 social divisions according to quality and work. One must be qualified. And how does one become qualified? That is also described. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita Krishna describes the qualities of a Brahmana as follows, Samadhamas tapasakam ksantarardavamiva jnanam vijnanam astikyam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. So people who want to become Brahmanas must be educated to acquire these qualities. It is not enough simply to abolish the caste system, which is contaminated by the false conception of qualification by birthright. Certainly, this wrong caste system should be abolished. Also, educational centers should be open for teaching people how to become genuine Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Guna Karma Vibhagasa, according to their qualities and work, people naturally belong to different social groupings. So you cannot avoid it, But because you have created a false caste system, that should be abolished, and the system recommended by Krishna, that should be adopted. In any event, you cannot avoid the natural occurrence of various social divisions. Nature's caste system will remain. Take, for example, the Brahminical quality of truthfulness. All over the world, wherever you go, you'll find at least one person who is truthful. Does anyone say, "Oh, his father was truthful, therefore he is truthful"? This is nonsense. Krishna never says anything like this. The father may be Hiranyakasipu, a big demon, but his son can still be Prahlada, a great devotee of the Lord. It is not that one will inevitably become exactly like one's father. Of course, it may be, there is every possibility. But still it is not a fact that the son unavoidably becomes like the father. Our point is, wherever you go, you'll find a first-class man who is truthful. Now, wherever you find a truthful man, you can classify him as a Brahmana and train him to serve the social body in that capacity, as a spiritual teacher and advisor. That is wanted. Why assume, here is the son of a truthful man, therefore he is truthful, a Brahmana? That is a misconception. You have to find the truthful men all over the world and train them as Brahmanas. That we are doing. If you follow these principles, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, you are a Brahmana. Come on and receive further training. The fellow's father may be a meat eater or a gambler or a drunkard, but if he himself is truthful and agreeable to the Brahminical life, then tell him, "All right, come on, you are welcome." Then everything will be all right. You could not abolish the truthful class of men even if you wanted to. You'll find truthful men everywhere. You simply have to train them. So Krishna says, Chaturvarnya maya sristam guna karma vibhagasa, according to their qualities and work, you take some men and put them in the Brahminical class, others in the Kshatriya class, still others in the Vaisya class, and the rest in the Sudra class. But you cannot abolish that system. That is a false attempt. Pusta Krishna, you're saying the natural system is to classify a person and train him for a particular duty, according to his particular inner qualities and his particular propensity to act. Srila Prabhupada, yes. That classification is wanted. That must be there. Pusta Krishna, and what will be the benefit of classifying and training people according to their own qualities and propensities? Srila Prabhupada, the benefit will be that the whole social body will function harmoniously. The social body must have a brain and arms and a belly and legs to be complete. If there is no brain, no head, then what is the use of these arms and legs and belly? It is all dead. So in human society, if there is not a class of learned, truthful, and honest men, men with all the Brahminical qualifications, then society is ruined. That is why people are perplexed. Today almost everyone is trained to be a Sudra, a laborer, go to the factory. That's all. Go to the factory and get money. And when the man gets some money, he immediately purchases wine and women. So if you try to make society classless, you'll produce such men, useless men, disturbing to the social body. You cannot make society classless. If you try to make it classless, naturally people will all be Sudras, fourth-class men, and worse. Then there will be social chaos. Pusta Krishna, but can all people take an equal interest in religion, despite their belonging to different social classifications? Srila Prabhupada, yes. This I have already explained, that any civilized human being, he has got some religion. Now, the basic principles of religion are the statements made by God. So here in the Vedic system is what God says. If you take to this system, then the social body will be perfect not only for Hindus but also for Christians, for Mohammedans, for everyone. And that is being practically realized in our Krishna consciousness movement. We have got devotees from all groups of human society, and they are taking to this Vedic system. It is practical. There is no difficulty. So Hindus, Muslims, Christians, everyone should take to this Krishna religion and become Krishnaites. Krishnians. Laughter. The Greek word Christo comes from the Sanskrit Krishna. In fact, another spelling of Krishna is Krishna. So actually, if we take the root meaning, Christian means Christian or Krishnian. So that is a controversial point, but everyone can take to Krishna. Then everything will be settled up. 5. Eternal truths versus everyday realities. Pusta Krishna, would you like to hear another question, Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Pusta Krishna, it is said that whereas the Srutas, the 4 original Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutara, embody eternal truths, the Smritis, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and corollary Vedic literature, embody the rules of conduct and thus need to be revised according to the dictates of the changing times. Will such a view be acceptable to all sections of society, And if so, how can the new Smritis come into being, and who will give them sanction and sanctity? Srila Prabhupada, the Smritis are given by the Lord and his representatives. They come from spiritual authorities such as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Sastra, or scripture, also gives this authority. For instance, for this age, Kali Yuga, the Lord has prescribed a special means of God realization, the chanting of his holy name. Smritis such as the Brihadaranyaka Purana say the same thing, that in this age of Kali Yuga, the only possible means of God realization is chanting the Lord's name. In the Bhagavata Purana, December 3, 1951, also, Sukadeva Goswami directs, Kalardosa Nadrajanasti Hayako Mahan Guna Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramvarajet. Although in this age there are so many faults, it is truly an ocean of faults, still, there is one very great advantage: simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes fully purified and is liberated from all material miseries. So this Samadhi injunction we should take up, and actually we see all over the world how it is purifying all sections of people. Take to this chanting of Hare Krishna, then Sruti, Samadhi, everything will be fulfilled. This is the easiest method. Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramvarajet, chant the Lord's holy name and you'll be liberated. Pusta Krishna, so the Srutis are eternally relevant and constant? Srila Prabhupada, yes, everything is based on the Srutis. As the Vedanta Sutra says, Anavarti Sabdat, simply by chanting the Lord's names and instructions, his sound vibration, one becomes spiritually realized. Sabda Braham means spiritual sound vibration, and as the Vedanta Sutra instructs us, by chanting this spiritual sound vibration, the instructions and holy name of the Lord, one can become liberated. Pusta Krishna, also, the Smritis are directly based on the original Srutis. Srila Prabhupada, yes, for instance, Bhagavad Gita is considered Samadhi. And Bhagavad Gita also says, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatandas Siadritavarata, fully endeavoring with determination, the great souls are always chanting my glories. And as the Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu, which is also considered Samadhi, explains, Sruti Samadhi Puranadi, the great devotees heed both the Srutis and the Smritis. Another Samadhi, Brihadaranyaka Purana, enjoins, Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. In this age of quarrel, the only way to realize the Lord is to chant his holy name. Chant his holy name. Chant his holy name. So because he was in the role of a great devotee, Lord Chaitanya followed these injunctions of Sruti and Samadhi. Krishna Varnam Tvasakrishnam Sangopan Gastra Parsadam. Krishnam Varnayati, Lord Chaitanya was always chanting Hare Krishna. These examples are evidence that the Smritis are directly based on the Srutis. So introduce this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone will be purified. Pusta Krishna, is Samadhi more than just rules of conduct? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Here's what Samadhi means: the four original Vedas are considered Sruti. But simply by hearing them, one cannot understand fully. Therefore, the Smritis have explained further. Pariyati Purana, by hearing the Puranas and other Smritis, one makes his understanding complete. The Vedic mantras are not always understood. For instance, the Vedanta, which is Sruti, begins with the mantra Janmadhyasya Yada, the Supreme is that being from whom everything has emanated. This is very abbreviated. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Samadhi, explains, Janmadhyasya Yada Vyataradas Karthas Vibhinasvarat, the Supreme Being, from whom everything has emanated, is directly and indirectly cognizant of everything and is fully independent. In this way the Samadhi explains the Sruti. So whether you take Sruti or Samadhi, the subject matter is the same. Both Sruti and Samadhi are spiritual evidence. We cannot do without either of them. As Srila Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu, 1.2.101, Sruti Samadhi Puranadi Pankaratra Vidhim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhakta Utpatei Eva Kalpate. You cannot become purified or actually God conscious without reference to both Sruti and Samadhi. So as we push on this Krishna consciousness movement, it is not whimsical. It is based on Sruti, Samadhi, and Pankaratriki Vidi, the principles of Sruti, Samadhi, and the Narada Pankaratara. Therefore, it is becoming effective Pusta Krishna. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada, the question asks, do the Smritis need to be revised according to the changing times? Srila Prabhupada, they cannot be changed. Pusta Krishna, the Smritis cannot be changed? Srila Prabhupada, nothing can be changed. But according to the time, you have to apply the principles properly. For instance, in Kali Yuga the Samadhi order is Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramvarajet. To obtain spiritual liberation, one must chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. So you have to do this. For instance, a doctor may order, in the morning, Take this medicine, in the evening, take that medicine. It is not a change of the doctor's orders. It is simply that according to the time, the doctor's orders call for a particular medicine. But the particular medicine is recommended by the doctor, not by your whims. Shruti and Samarthi cannot be changed, but they may recommend a particular process at a particular time. So there must be adherence to both Shruti and Samarthi, to scriptural authority. You cannot modify. Pusta Krishna, there is no question, then, of, as the magazine puts it, new Samarthi. Srila Prabhupada, no. New Samarthi? They may take it as new Samarthi, but Samarthi is Samarthi, it is not new. In any spiritual statement you have to give references to Shruti and Samarthi. Otherwise, it is not valid. There must be Veda Pramana, Sabda Pramana, evidence from the Vedas and from the explanatory Vedic literature. Otherwise, there is no evidence. Your statement is not valid, you cannot change the original Shruti Samarthi. But you have to take their particular recommendation for the particular time, just as Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did when he urged his followers to heed the injunction of Brihadaranyaka Purana, 3.8.126, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasti Eva Gadaranyatha. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name of Krishna. In the present age of quarrel and anxiety, there is no other way to attain God realization, no other way, no other way. So Shruti Samarthi Pramana, citing evidence from the Vedas and the corollary literature, is the only method for making a spiritual statement. You have to take it. Pusta Krishna, can anyone change? Srila Prabhupada, no. Pusta Krishna, the rules of conduct as described in the Smritis? Srila Prabhupada, nobody can change them. But these particular rules and regulations in Shruti Samarthi are for particular times, particular circumstances. So we have to take these rules and regulations. You cannot change them. Pusta Krishna, and who will sanction a particular application for a particular time and place? Srila Prabhupada, yes. This was done by Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. When he appeared 500 years ago, he sanctioned the application of Shruti Samarthi because he's a genuine authority. He's a genuine Acharya. And we are following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is not whimsical. You have to follow the authority in all circumstances. Pusta Krishna, is this Vedic religion, this Sanatana Dharma, so broad that everyone is included? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Sanatana means eternal. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Na hanyat hanyamansarayar, the living entity within the body is not destroyed when the body is destroyed, because he is eternal. So that eternality belongs to everyone. Not that the Hindus, after giving up this body, exist, and the Muslims or Christians do not exist. Everyone exists eternally. So Sanatana Dharma is meant for everyone. Pusta Krishna, then is there anyone actually outside of Sanatana Dharma? Srila Prabhupada, nobody is actually outside. Everyone is an eternal spirit soul, and therefore everyone is meant for the eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma. You may think that you are not an eternal spirit soul, but that is simply illusion. There are so many rascals who think that with the death of the body everything is finished. They may think so, but that is not a fact. Similarly, you may think, I am not a Sanatana Dharmi, a follower of Sanatana Dharma, I am a Christian, but actually you are a Sanatana Dharmi. Of course, if you wish to think otherwise, you can. Who can check it? Hari Sorai, so whether one can be accepted as following Sanatana Dharma depends on how one acts? Srila Prabhupada, yes. If one does not act according to the rules and regulations of Sanatana Dharma, that is his business. That's all. 6. The ultimate knowledge. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, this is the next question. In the Kali Yuga, the current age of quarrel and hypocrisy, bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, has been described as the most suitable and easiest of paths for God realization. Yet how is it that Vedantic teachings, with their accent on jnana, cultivation of knowledge, are being given the pride of place by noted savants? Srila Prabhupada, the so-called Vedantists, the Mayavadis, impersonalists, are bluffers. They do not know what Vedanta is. But people want to be bluffed, and the bluffers take advantage of it. The two words combined in the word Vedanta are Veda and Anta. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means goal or end. So Vedanta means the end of all knowledge, or Veda. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita Lord Krishna says, Vedas ca sarvaraham eva Vedya, by all the Vedas I am to be known. So the whole Vedanta Sutra is a description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first statement in the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jinasa, now, having attained a human birth, one should inquire into Braham, the absolute truth. In a nutshell, Braham is then described, Janmadhyasya, Brahma is the origin of everything. And in Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, Aham Sarvasaya Prabhava, I am the origin of everything. So, again, the Vedanta Sutra actually describes Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, because Srila Vyasadeva knew that in this Kali Yuga people would not be able to study Vedanta Sutra nicely on account of a lack of education, he personally wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. That commentary is Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhasyam Brahma Sutranam, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the real commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, written by the author of the Vedanta Sutra himself. The Vedanta Sutra was written by Vyasadeva, and under the instruction of Narada, his spiritual master, Vyasadeva wrote a commentary on it. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the same aphorism as the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya, and continues, and Vyataradas Karthas Vibhinas Varat. So actually, the Vedanta Sutra is explained by the author in Srimad Bhagavatam. But the rascal Mayavadis, without understanding Vedanta Sutra and without reading the natural commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam, are posing themselves as Vedantists. That means they are misguiding people. And because people are not educated, they're accepting these rascals as Vedantists. Really, the Mayavadi Vedantists, they are bluffers. They are not Vedantists. They do not know anything of the Vedanta Sutra. That is the difficulty. Actually, what is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is real Vedanta. So, if we take Srimad Bhagavatam as the real explanation of Vedanta Sutra, then we will understand Vedanta, the end of knowledge. And if we take shelter of the Mayavadi Vedantists, the bluffers, then we cannot understand Vedanta. People do not know anything, and as a result they can be bluffed and cheated by anyone. Therefore now they should learn from this Krishna consciousness movement what Vedanta is and what the explanation of Vedanta Sutra is. Then they will be benefited. If we accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the real commentary on Vedanta Sutra, then we'll find that in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Kalardosanad Rajanasti Hayeko Mahan Guna, in this Kali Yuga, which is an ocean of faults, there is one benediction, one opportunity. What is that? Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramvarajet, one can become liberated simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This is real Vedanta. And actually, this liberation by chanting Hare Krishna is happening. But people want to be misguided. And there are so many bluffers to misguide them. What can be done? Vyasadeva has already given the perfect explanation of Vedanta Sutra, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let people read the Srimad Bhagavatam, then they will understand what Vedanta is. Pusta Krishna, then are the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutra and the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam one and the same, Bhakti? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Find this verse, Kamasyanendriya Pritra. Pusta Krishna, Kamasyanendriya Pritra Labho Jivata Yavata Jivasaya Tatvajinasanartoyasya Karmabhi. Life's desire should never be directed toward sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life, or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the about truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Srimad Bhagavatam January 2, 2010. Srila Prabhupada, yes. This verse of Srimad Bhagavatam proceeds directly from the Vedanta Sutra, Athato Brahma Jinasa, now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. Here the very same thing is explained. Don't be entrapped with these temporary, bodily necessities of life-sense gratification. You must inquire about the absolute truth. The next verse of Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Vedanti tat tattvavidas tattvamyajnanam advayam, those who know the absolute truth describe him in this way. Tattva means truth. The truth is explained by the Tattvavid, one who knows the truth. How? Brahmati Paramatmiti Bhagavan Iti Sabdyate, the absolute truth is explained as Braham, the all-pervading spiritual effulgence, as Paramatma, the localized supersoul, or as Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. Understanding these is what Vedanta Sutra means when it says Athato Brahma Jinasa. Now one should learn about the absolute truth, what Braham is, what Paramatma is, what Bhagavan is. In this way, one should make advancement in his spiritual consciousness. The Mayavadi Vedantists follow the impersonal commentary of Sankarakarya, Sararaka Bhasya. But there are other commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. Besides the Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary by the author of Vedanta Sutra himself, there are Vedanta Bhasyas written by Vaisnava Acharyas such as Ramanujakarya, Madhvakarya, Vishnu Svami, and Baladeva Vidyabhusana. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi Vedantists do not care to read these Vaisnava Vedanta Bhasyas. They simply read Sararaka Bhasya and call themselves Vedantists. Pusta Krishna, why do the Mayavadi Vedantists read only one commentary? What is the reason for that? Srila Prabhupada, the reason is that they want to read something that will confirm their illusion that they are God. The Mayavadi Vedantists cheat. Suppose I present some proposition. If it is a misconception, generally there are others also who can say something to clarify this misconception. For instance, in a court of law, there are two lawyers. One lawyer is speaking on one point of the law, the other lawyer is speaking on another point of the law. But if the judge listens to one side only, then how will he make a proper judgment? Similarly, the Vedantists are simply reading the Sariraka Bhasya. They are not reading other Bhasyas, such as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary. And they are cheating people. That's all. Now, the Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadhyasya yada, the absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. But this needs some explanation. One may ask, is that absolute truth personal or impersonal? Therefore in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna clearly says, Aham sarvasaya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, I am the origin of everything, everything comes from me. So why don't you Mayavadi Vedantists take it? Why do you simply remain stuck at the point that the absolute truth is that from which everything emanates? When Krishna, the absolute truth, comes before you and says, I am the origin of everything, everything comes from me, why don't you accept Krishna as the absolute truth? Why do you take the impersonalist view only, that the absolute truth has no form? Here is the absolute truth speaking, a person. Why don't you take it? Of course, if people want to be cheated, then who can stop them? In Bhagavad Gita Krishna also says, Vedanta krd, evakam, I am the compiler of Vedanta. Why do these rascals not consider who compiled Vedanta? Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Krishna. He compiled Vedanta. Why do these rascals not consider the original Vedantist, Krishna? They approach a Mayavadi instead. So how will they understand Vedanta? Suppose I have written a book. If you cannot understand something in it, then you should come directly to me for an explanation. That is sensible. Why go to a rascal who has nothing to do with my book? Similarly, some rascal Mayavadi may claim, I am a Vedantist, but why should I go to a rascal instead of the real compiler of the Vedanta Sutra? Those who approach the Mayavadi Vedantists for knowledge are also rascals. They are willingly being cheated. Let the Mayavadi Vedantists and their followers accept the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Then they will understand Vedanta Sutra. They'll be real Vedantists. Otherwise, they will remain cheaters. So if you go to a cheater you'll be cheated, and that is your business. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, are you saying that the Mayavadis have no knowledge at all? Srila Prabhupada, once again, Vedanta means the ultimate knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, 7.19, Bahunam Janmanamanti Jnanavan Mam Prapadayati. After many births, one who is actually in knowledge at last surrenders unto me. So unless one surrenders to Krishna, there is no jnana, no knowledge. Therefore the Mayavadi Vedantists are all nonsense, they have no knowledge at all. The subject matter of ultimate knowledge, Vedanta, is Krishna, God. So if one does not know who God is, who Krishna is, and if one does not surrender to him, then where is the question of knowledge? But if a rascal claims that I am a man of knowledge, what can be done? In Bhagavad Gita Krishna goes on to explain, Vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. When one understands that Vasudeva, Krishna, is everything, then that is knowledge. But such a Mahatma is very rare. Before coming to this understanding, one has no knowledge. His so-called understanding is simply misunderstanding. Brahmati Paramatmiti Bhagavan iti sabdyate, one may begin with understanding impersonal Brahman by the speculative method, then, in the secondary stage, one can understand the Paramatma, the Lord's localized aspect, and the final stage is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Vedas ca sarvarahamiva Vedyam, by all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. That is the ultimate knowledge. But if you do not understand Krishna, then where is your knowledge? Halfway knowledge is not knowledge. It must be complete knowledge. That complete knowledge is possible, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanamanti, after many births. Those who are striving to acquire knowledge, after many, many births, when actually by the grace of God and by the grace of a devotee they come to knowledge, then such persons agree, oh, Vasudeva sarvam iti, Krishna is everything. Samahatma sudurlabha, that Mahatma, that great soul, is very rarely to be found. Durlabha means very rarely found, but the word used is sudurlabha, very, very rarely to be found. So you cannot easily find such a Mahatma who clearly understands Krishna. 7. Getting spiritual guidance. Pusta Krishna, may I ask another question, Srila Prabhupada? Is a guru essential for one to enter the spiritual path and attain the goal, and how does one recognize one's guru? Srila Prabhupada: yes, a guru is necessary. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna and Arjuna were talking as friends, there was no conclusion. So Arjuna decided to accept Krishna as his guru. Find this verse in Bhagavad Gita: Karpanya dasapahadas vabhava. Hari Sorai, Karpanya dasapahadas vabhava prakamitvam dharmasamya dasita yak krayasyan nisidam bruitanmi sisa istaham sadhimam tvam prapanam. Arjuna said, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple, and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Srila Prabhupada: yes. So a guru is necessary. Like Arjuna, everyone is perplexed about his best course of action. Nobody can decide by himself. Even a physician, when he is sick, he does not devise his own treatment. He calls for another physician, because his brain is not in order. How can he prescribe the right medicine for himself? Similarly, when we are perplexed and cannot find any solution, at that time the guru is required. It is therefore essential for everyone to surrender to a guru, since in our present existence we are all perplexed. Arjuna is representing the perplexed position of the materialistic person. So under the circumstances, a guru is required to give us real direction. Now, Arjuna selected Krishna as his guru. He did not go to anyone else, because he knew, I can't find any other means to pacify me. You are the only one. The purport is that like Arjuna, we should also accept Krishna as the guru who can instruct us in how to get relief from our perplexed position. So Krishna is the guru not only for Arjuna, but for everyone. If we take instruction from Krishna and abide by that instruction, then our life is successful. Conveying that fact is our mission. This Krishna consciousness movement teaches, accept Krishna as your guru. Don't divert your attention. We don't say, I am Krishna, follow my order. We never say that. We simply ask people, please abide by the order of Krishna. Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityajyam ekam saranam vraya, and we say the same thing, give up all other ideas of so-called dharma and surrender to Krishna. The same thing. We don't say of ourselves, I am the authority. No, we say, Krishna is the authority, and you should surrender to his instruction and try to understand him. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. Now, one may say, Krishna is no longer present, so how can I surrender to him? Krishna is no longer present? How can you say that? Krishna's instruction is there, Bhagavad Gita. How can you say that Krishna is not present? Krishna, being absolute, is not different from his words. The words of Krishna and Krishna himself, they are the same. That is the meaning of absolute truth. In the relative world, the word water and the substance water are different. When I am thirsty, if I simply chant water, 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 my thirst will not be satisfied. I require the real water. That is the nature of the relative world and relative consciousness. But in the spiritual world or spiritual consciousness, the name is the same as the thing that is named. For instance, we are chanting Hare Krishna. If Krishna were different from the chanting of Hare Krishna, then how could we be satisfied chanting the whole day and night? This is the proof. An ordinary name, if you chant Mr. John, after chanting 3 times you'll cease. But this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, if you go on chanting 24 hours a day, you'll never become tired. This is the spiritual nature of the absolute truth. This is practical. Anyone can perceive it. So Krishna is present through his words and through his representative. Therefore we advise everyone to accept Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita and to surrender to his bona fide representative. You have to accept a guru, so why go to a pseudo-guru who will mislead you? Why not take instructions from a real guru? Now you are in doubt about whether a guru is needed. Yes, a guru is needed, but you have to go to a real guru. That is the instruction given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Just find this Tadvidi pranapatena pariprasnina savaya upadksayandi tajnanam jnaninas tadvadarsana pusta Krishna. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Bhagavad Gita 4.34, Srila Prabhupada. So this is the real guru, one who has seen the truth, just as Arjuna has seen Krishna. Arjuna heard Krishna's instructions and said, you are the absolute truth. Now, if you take the instruction of Arjuna, then you will understand the absolute truth. So what is the instruction of Arjuna? Find out in the 10th chapter. Pusta Krishna, Arjuna Uveka Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purisam Sasvatam Divyamadi Devamanjam Vibham. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." Bhagavad Gita 10.12, Srila Prabhupada, and the Vedanta Sutra says, "Athato Brahmajinasa," now, in the human form of life, is the time to inquire into what is the Supreme Brahman. So here in Bhagavad Gita Arjuna has realized, "O Krishna, you are the Supreme Brahman, so you should make Arjuna your guru and Krishna your guru." Arjuna is the representative of Krishna, the friend of Krishna. The guru is essential. But why go to a bogus guru? You'll be cheated. For instance, when you are diseased, for your treatment you need to go to a physician. But you want to go to a real physician, not a cheater who has no knowledge of medical science and misrepresents himself. "I am a physician, an MD," then you'll be cheated. The guru is necessary, that's a fact. But go to the real guru. Who is the real guru? The real guru is Krishna, or one who has seen Krishna, such as Arjuna. 8. Civilization means regulation. Pusta Krishna, may I ask the next question, Srila Prabhupada? Are fasting and other dietary regulations necessary for leading a spiritual life? Srila Prabhupada, certainly. For advancement in spiritual life, such tapasya is essential. Tapasya means voluntarily accepting something which may be painful. For instance, we are recommending no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. So those who are accustomed to these bad habits, for them, in the beginning it may be a little difficult. But in spite of this difficulty, one has to do it. That is tapasya. To rise early in the morning, for those who are not practiced, it is a little painful, but one has to do it. So according to the Vedic injunctions, there are some tapasyas that must be done. It is not a may do it or not do it. These austerities must be done. For example, in the Mundaka Upanishad it is ordered that if one wants to become self-realized, one must approach a spiritual master, tadvainanyardam siguram evamhagaket. So there is no question of optional, it must be done. And one must carry out the order of the spiritual master and the order of the sastra, or scripture. When you follow without consideration of whether it is convenient or inconvenient, simply because it must be done, that is called tapasya. Tapodivyam, like other great spiritual authorities, Risabhadeva orders that this human life is meant for austerity aimed toward realizing God. Therefore in our Vedic civilization we find so many rules and regulations. At the very beginning of life one must be a brahmachari. He must go to the spiritual master's place and act like a menial servant. If the spiritual master says go and pick up some wood from the forest, one may be a king's son, but he cannot refuse the spiritual master's order. He must go. Even Krishna was ordered by his spiritual master to go and pick up some dry wood from the forest. So he had to go. Although his father was Nanda Maharaja, a village Vaisya king, and although Krishna was the personality of Godhead himself, still he could not refuse. He had to go. Nikavat, just like a menial servant. This is brahmacharya, spiritual student life. This is tapasya. Tapasya is so essential that one has to do it. There is no question of an alternative. After brahmachari life, one may marry. This means he enters gaza life, household life. That is also tapasya. He cannot have sex whenever he likes. No. The Sastra says, you must have sex like this, once in a month and only for begetting children. So that is also tapasya. People do not follow any tapasya at the present moment, but human life is meant for tapasya, regulative principles. Even in ordinary affairs, let us say you are driving your car on some urgent business and you see a red light. You have to stop. You cannot say, I have to be there in a few minutes. I must go. No. You must stop. That is tapasya. So tapasya means following the regulative principles strictly, according to the higher order. And that is human life. Animal life, however, means you can do whatever you like. On the road, animals may keep to the right or keep to the left, it doesn't matter. Their irregularity is not taken as an offense, because they are animals. But if a human being does not follow the regulative principles, he is sinful. He'll be punished. Consider the same example, when there is a red light, if you do not stop you'll be punished. But if a cat or dog transgresses, never mind the red light, I shall go, he's not punished. So tapasya is meant for the human being. He must do it if he at all wants to make progress in life. It is essential. Pusta Krishna, and so, Srila Prabhupada, tapasya includes dietary regulations? Srila Prabhupada, that is also tapasya. For example, we prohibit meat eating. So in your country this is a little troublesome. From the very beginning of life, a child is habituated to eating meat. The mother purchases powdered meat and mixes it with liquid and feeds it to the infant. I have seen it. So practically everyone has been brought up eating meat. Yet I say, don't eat meat. Therefore that is troublesome. But if one is serious about becoming self-realized, one must accept the order. That is tapasya. Tapasya applies to diet, to personal behavior, to dealings with others, and so on and so forth. In every aspect of life, there is tapasya. That is all described in the Bhagavad Gita. Mental tapasya, bodily tapasya, verbal tapasya, controlling vako vegam, the urge to talk loosely or whimsically. You cannot talk nonsense. If you talk, you must talk about Krishna. That is tapasya. There is also tapasya in connection with krodha vegam, the urge to express one's anger. If one becomes angry and wants to express it by beating someone or doing something very violent, tapasya will restrict him. No, don't do it. There is also tapasya with regards to the tongue, belly, and genitals. One cannot eat anything and everything, or at any time he pleases. Nor can one have sex freely, but only according to the scriptural injunctions. I am sexually inclined, but I cannot do it. This is not the time. That is tapasya. So one should practice tapasya in every way, in body, mind, words, personal behavior, and dealings with others. That is human life. Tapodivyam, if you want to simply be a human being, and especially if you want to make progress in spiritual life, you must act according to the sastric injunctions. That means tapasya. Before Brahma could take part in creation, he had to undergo tapasya. Is it not stated in the sastra? Yes. So tapasya is essential. You cannot avoid it. And what is the aim of performing tapasya? The aim is to please the Supreme Lord through the spiritual master. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, one can attain the mercy of the Lord only by attaining the mercy of the spiritual master. This is the idea. Now, in today's educational institutions, who is teaching this tapasya? Where is the school or college? The students are even smoking in front of their teacher, and it is tolerated. No offense. What can you expect from such students? This is an animal civilization. This is not human civilization. No tapasya, no brahmachari life. Real civilization means tapodivyam, godly austerity. And this tapasya begins with brahmachari life, learning to control the senses. That is the beginning of life. Not ABCD learning, and maybe your character is less than an animal's, though you have a degree from the university. Never mind. You have become a learned man. No, that is not accepted. Even from the standpoint of basic moral instruction, we must ask, who today is educated? The educated person is described by Kanakya Pandita, Matrvat Paradarsa Paradravasilastra Atmavat Sarvabhut Suyapasyadi Sapandita. The educated man sees another's wife as his mother and another's property as untouchable garbage, and he sees all others as equal to himself. That is the Pandita, the learned man. In Bhagavad Gita 5.18, Krishna also describes the Pandita, Vidyavinaya Sampan Brahman Gavi Hastini Sunika Eva Svapaksa Pandita Samadarsanā. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. That is a learned man. Not this degree holder. A degree holder who has no tapasya and no character, Krishna says he is Maya Partajanana, his knowledge is stolen by illusion. Although he has learned so many things, nonetheless, Maya has taken away his knowledge. He's a rascal. He's an animal. This is the perspective of Vedic civilization. 9. Cleansing the heart. Pusta Krishna. Next question, Srila Prabhupada. What is the role of rituals in religion? Are they to be discouraged, as is being advocated by some reformists, or are they to be encouraged? If so, in what form? Srila Prabhupada, a ritual is a practice based on tapasya, or austerity. Generally, unless one undergoes the ritualistic ceremonies for purification, he remains unclean. But in this age, because it is practically impossible to induce people to take up all these ritualistic processes, both the scripture and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommend, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is the special advantage of this age, that by constant chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one automatically becomes purified. In his Sikh Sataka, Lord Chaitanya describes the progressive benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. First, Sito Darpanamarjanam. The beginning is cleansing the heart, because we are impure on account of dirty things within our heart, accumulated lifetime after lifetime in the animalistic way of life. So everything, advancement of spiritual life, culture, tapasya, is meant to cleanse the heart. And in this process of chanting the Maha Mantra, the first installment of benefit is the cleansing of the heart. Ceto Darpanamarjanam. And when the heart is cleansed, then a person becomes eligible for being freed from the clutches of Maya, or the materialistic way of life. He understands that he is not this body, that he's a spirit soul, and that his business is therefore different from merely material concerns. He thinks, now I am engaged only in seeking these bodily comforts of life. These are not at all essential, because my body will change. Today, since I am in an American body, I think I have so many duties as an American man. Tomorrow I may be in an American dog body, and immediately my duty would change. So I can understand that these bodily concerns are not my real business. My real business is how to elevate myself, as a spirit soul, to the spiritual world, back to home, back to Godhead. In this way the person who chants Hare Krishna purifies his consciousness. Then his materialistic activity is stopped. He knows, this is simply a waste of time. I must act spiritually. That is knowledge, which comes from cleansing the heart, Ceto Darpanamarjanam. The illusion of wrongly working on the basis of the bodily concept of life is overcome simply by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is the first installment of benefit from chanting. And then there is Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, the process of stopping the blazing fire of material existence. Next, Srayakarava Kandrakavataranam, his life becomes completely auspicious, and Vidyavadhujivanam, he becomes filled with transcendental knowledge. The next benefit is Anandam Buddhivardhanam, the ocean of transcendental bliss increases, and Purnamartasvedanam, he tastes the nectar of Krishna consciousness at every step of life. In other words, his life becomes totally blissful. Finally, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vihayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, all glories to this Sankirtana movement, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this Sankirtana movement is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift, and by taking up this chanting one attains Kevala Bhakti, unalloyed devotion to the Lord. All the benefits of practicing austerities, penances, mystic yoga, and so on will be totally achieved simply by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, June 1, 2015. Kesit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayano Agam Hanvandi Kartsnaina Nayaram Ivabhaskar. Just as when the sun rises the all-pervading fog immediately disappears, so in this Kali Yuga, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, especially by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, all one's sins are eradicated and one becomes fully reformed. In other words, one comes to the spiritual platform, and that is success in life. 10. The process of purification. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. The next question somewhat echoes the previous one. There are various samskaras, or purificatory ceremonies, prescribed for every civilized person, from birth to death. Many of these samskaras are not being observed today. Should they be revived? Srila Prabhupada. The real aim of samskaras is to bring rascal to the platform of knowledge. Janmana Jayate Sudra, by birth, everyone is the same, Sudra. In other words, one is without any knowledge. So the purpose of samskaras is to gradually bring a person who has no knowledge of spiritual life to the spiritual platform. As it is said, samskarid bhavdavija, by the purificatory processes, one attains spiritual rebirth. That is essential. Human life is the opportunity for understanding what one is and what the aim of one's life is. The aim of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. After all, we are part and parcel of God. Somehow or other, we are now in this material existence. So the real aim of life is to return to the spiritual world, where there is no struggle for existence, blissful, happy life. We want unending blissful life, but it is not possible in the material world. That happiness is in the spiritual world. So our aim should be to go there, and every human being should be given the chance. That is real education. That is called samskara, the process of purification. Now, altogether there are dasavita samskara, 10 kinds of purificatory processes. So, in this age it is very difficult to follow them. But if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without any offense, under the guidance of a spiritual master, all these samskaras automatically become fulfilled, and one returns to his original, spiritual position. Aham Brahmasmi, I am a spirit soul. So, we are Braham, spirit, and Krishna is Param Braham, the supreme spirit. As Arjuna said, Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, you are the supreme spirit, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. Krishna is Braham, or spirit, and I am also Braham, but he's the supreme Braham, while I am minute Braham. So my business is to serve Krishna. That is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, Javarisvarupahaya Krishnaraniya Dasa. The real identity of the living being is that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. So if one engages himself in his original, spiritual business, acting as the servant of Krishna, then all processes of purification and reformation are fulfilled. And that advantage of re-engagement in our original, spiritual business is given freely in this age, Kirtanativa Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramvarajet, simply by chanting the Lord's holy name, one achieves spiritual liberation. The reformatory processes, or samskaras, are meant for purifying a person so that he becomes mukta sangha, liberated from all the bad association of material existence and eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. So this is the special advantage of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The question was, should purificatory processes be revived? They should be revived as far as necessary, but all of them cannot be revived in this age. So people should take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then all reformation will be there, and people will come to the spiritual platform, Brahmabhuta, the realization of Braham. Then praise Anatma, they'll be happy. Nasakati Nakanksati, there will be no lamentation or needless hankering. Sama Sarvasubhutsu, they will see everyone on the spiritual platform. And finally, Madbhaktam Labhe Param. In this way they will come to the platform of devotional service, and then their life becomes successful. Is that question answered or not? Pusta Krishna, yes. Just one question I have, Srila Prabhupada. You said that the samskara should be revived as far as necessary? Srila Prabhupada, the essentials. For instance, to make one a brahmana, these 4 things are essential: no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. These essentials must be there, you cannot dispense with them. You must at least avoid sinful activities. Then one can practice Krishna consciousness. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 7.28, Yesam TV antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam tadvan vimohanar mukta bahant mamdritavarata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. You cannot become a devotee unless you give up sinful activity. Therefore you have to begin by following these 4 prohibitions. You have to avoid sinful activities like illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, including tobacco, coffee, and tea. Then you'll gradually become completely sinless. On one side you have to follow restrictions, and on the other side you have to engage yourself in devotional service. To engage oneself in devotional service under the order of the spiritual master and the sastra is the way to remain on the transcendental platform. The transcendental platform means there is no sinful activity. It is above any question of sinful. Pious and sinful activities are there only as long as you are on the material platform. Good and bad, pious and sinful, these are all considerations on the material platform. But when you are on the transcendental platform, you are automatically without sin. Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita, 14.26, Mam Cao Vyabhikarina Bhakti Yogina Savat Sagunan Samadhyatan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. The life of vice and the life of piety are within this material world, but when one is spiritually engaged, he is above the material plane, on the spiritual plane. So the whole thing is that if you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and give up these sinful activities, automatically you become reformed. You come to the spiritual platform. And in this way your life will become successful. 11. Feel the oneness, with a difference. Pusta Krishna. This next question is rather interesting, Srila Prabhupada. Is it not possible for all kinds of spiritualists, be they Advaitins, advocates of oneness of the self with God, Dvaitins, advocates of total difference between the self and God, or Visistadvaitins, advocates of qualified oneness of the self with God, to come together instead of remaining isolated as warring factions? Srila Prabhupada, yes. This is the process taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to bring all the Dvaitins and Advaitins together on one platform. Everyone has to understand that he is essentially a servant of God. The Advaitin wrongly thinks that he is absolutely one with God, that he himself is God. That is wrong. How can you become God? God is Sadesvarya full in 6 opulences. He has all power, all wealth, all beauty, all fame, all knowledge, and all renunciation. So this Advaitin idea is artificial, to think you're able to become God. The Dvaitins stress that one is utterly different from God, that God is separate from the living entity. But actually, from the Bhagavad Gita we understand that the living entities are part and parcel of God. And in the Vedas it is said, Nityo Nityanam Satana Satanyanam, Kata Upanishad February 2, 2013. Both God and his creatures are living entities, though God is the chief. Ekayobahu nam vadadati kaman. The difference between the two is that God maintains all the other living entities. That is a fact. We are maintained, and God is the maintainer. We are predominated, we are not independent, and God is the predominator. But because the predominated living entities are part and parcel of God, in quality they are one with God. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is Akantayabdabheda. The living entities are simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. The living entity is one in the sense that he is part and parcel of God. So if God were gold, the living entity would also be gold. That is oneness in quality. But God is great, and we are minute. In that way we are different. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enunciated this philosophy of Akantayabdabheda, inconceivable, simultaneous oneness with and difference from God. That is real philosophy. So on the platform of this philosophy, everyone can come together, if they are reasonable. If they remain unreasonably stuck up in their own concocted philosophy, then it is difficult. But it is a fact that the living entity is eternally one with and different from God. Find this verse, Mama evem so you aloke, Hari Sorai, Mama evem so you aloke ye rabuta sanatana manasasthanandriyani prakritisthani karsati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. BG 15.7, Srila Prabhupada. So if the living entity is eternally a fragmental part, how can he become one with the whole? The part is never equal to the whole. That is an axiomatic truth. So it is a wrong conception to try to become equal to God. The Mayavadis are trying to become God, but that is impossible. Let them try to become godly. Godly means servant of God. That will make them perfect. The Vaisnava philosophy teaches that we can remain in our natural position but act as a servant of God. That is perfect. But if the servant tries to become the master, that is artificial. Of course, in the spiritual world there often seems to be no difference between the master and the servant. For instance, Krishna's friends the cowherd boys, they do not know that Krishna is God. They play with him on equal terms. When Krishna is defeated in play, he has to take his friend on his shoulder and carry him. The friends do not know who is God and who is not God. So that is the advanced spiritual conception. Of course, the difference is always there between God and the part and parcel living entities, but by the influence of God's internal potency, the understanding is covered. We can obtain that position after many, many lives of pious activities. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, October 12, 2011, Itham satam brahma sukhanubhutyadasyam gatanam paradivatina mayasrutanam naradarikana sakviyaru kritapunya punja. The cowherd boys are playing with Krishna. And who is Krishna? He is the essence of Brahma Sukha, spiritual bliss. He is Parambraham, the Supreme Spirit. So the boys are playing with Parambraham, though to an ordinary man he appears to be an ordinary child. How have the cowherd boys gotten the position of being able to play with Krishna? Kritapunya punja, after many, many lives of pious activities, they have gotten the position of playing with Krishna on equal terms. So this is the conception of pure devotional service, that when you go to Goloka Vrindavana, Krishna's abode, you love Krishna so much that you will not distinguish between the Supreme Lord and his subordinates. The inhabitants of Krishna's abode have such unflinching love for Krishna. That is Vrindavana life. The cows, the calves, the trees, the flowers, the water, the elderly men, Krishna's parents Nanda Maharaja and Yasodamai, everyone is intensely attached to Krishna. Everyone's central point is Krishna. Everyone is loving Krishna so much that they do not know he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes the residents of Vrindavana see Krishna's wonderful activities and think, Krishna must be some demigod who has come here. They never recognize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or if they do, Krishna makes them immediately forget. When Krishna manifested his pastimes on earth some 5,000 years ago, he passed through many dangerous situations. So many demons were coming, and Mother Yasoda would chant mantras to protect Krishna, thinking, he may not be put into some calamity. Krishna's family and friends never understood that Krishna is God. Their natural love for Krishna was so intense. Therefore Vrindavana life is so exalted. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, Aradyo Bhagavan Varyasatanayastad Dhamma Vrindavanam, first of all, Krishna, Virajendra Nandana, the son of Nanda Maharaja, is Aradya, worshipable. Then, Tad Dhamma Vrindavanam, his Dhamma, or abode, Vrindavana, is equally worshipable. So these facts pertain to a higher standard of understanding. Only a devotee can understand that to become one with God is not a sublime idea. In Vrindavana the devotees want to become the father or mother of God, to control God with love. This fact the Mayavadis, or Advaitavadis, cannot understand. Only pure devotees can understand these things. What is the benefit of becoming one with God? Even other Vaisnava philosophies cannot explain the higher relationships with God, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained. These are Vatsalya Rasa, parenthood, and Madhurya Rasa, conjugal love. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially taught that our relationship with Krishna can be in conjugal love, Madhurya Rasa. But as for our general understanding, Lord Chaitanya introduced the philosophy of Akantayabdabheda, simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. That is explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, 15.7, Mama evamso, ye vibhuta, the living entities are part and parcel of God. So we are one with God, since we have God's qualities in minute degree. But God is the master, and we are always subordinate. Eko bahu nam yo vidadati kaman, we are protected, we are maintained, we are predominated. That is our position. We cannot attain the position of predominator. That is not possible. 12. How to love God Pusta Krishna? Next question, Srila Prabhupada. As the world is coming to be divided into just two classes, atheist and theist, is it not advisable for all religions to come together? And what positive steps can be taken in this direction? Srila Prabhupada, the steps to be taken have already been explained, this Krishna consciousness movement. The atheist class and the theist class will always exist. This is the nature of the material world. Even at home, the father may be an atheist like Hiranyakasipu, and the son a theist like Prahlada. So atheists and theists will always exist, in the family, in the community, in the nation. But the theists should follow the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita and take shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, giving up other, so-called religious principles. That will bring religious unity. Religion without a clear conception of God is humbug, bogus. Religion means to accept the order of God. So if you have no clear conception of God, if you do not know who God is, there is no question of accepting His order. Find this verse in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharmam 2 Saksad Bhagavat Pranatam Hari Sorai, Dharmam 2 Saksad Bhagavat Pranatam Nalvivajursayo Napi Devanasita Mukya Sura Manusya Kudo Nuvidyadar Karanadaya. Real religious principles are enacted by Srila Prabhupada. Real. Go on. Hari Sorai, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great sages who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the demons, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas, and Karanas. Srila Prabhupada. Read the next verses also. Hari Sorai, Svayambharanarada Sambukumara Kapala Manu Pralado Janako Bhismo Balravaya Sakarvayam Diva Dasai Vyanamo Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhadagyam Vajudam Durbadam Yajchnad Vemradam Ascendant Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Svayambhuva Manu, Prahlada Maharaja, Janaka Maharaja, Bhismadeva, Bali Maharaja, Sukadeva Goswami, and I myself, Yamaraja, know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord in love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. This transcendental religious principle is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand, but if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada. So these Mahayanas, Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, and so on, they know what the principles of religion are. Religion means Bhagavata Dharma, understanding God and our relationship with God. That is religion. You may call it Hindu religion or Muslim religion or Christian religion, but in any case, real religion is that which teaches how to love God. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yado Bhakta Adhak Sahe. If by following some religious system you come to the platform of loving God, then your religious system is perfect. Otherwise, it is simply a waste of time, bogus religion, without a clear conception of God. So we have to understand what God is and what He says, and we have to abide by His orders. Then there is real religion, there is real understanding of God, and everything is complete. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. One may ask why someone like Christ or Moses is not mentioned among the Mahayanas. Srila Prabhupada. There are Mahayanas among the Christian saints. They include Christ, and in addition to Christ, so many others, Saint Matthew, Saint Thomas, and so forth. These Mahayanas are mentioned in the Bible. A Mahayana is one who strictly follows the original religion and knows things as they are. And that means he must be coming in the Parampara, the system of disciplic succession. For instance, Arjuna learned Bhagavad Gita directly from Krishna. Therefore Arjuna is a Mahayana. So you should learn from Arjuna. You follow the way Arjuna acted and the way Arjuna understood Krishna. Then Mahayana Yanagata Sapantha, you are following the Mahayana, you are on the real path. Just as we are. In these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam is a list of Mahayanas, including Svayambhu, or Lord Brahma. So this Sampradaya of ours is called the Brahma Sampradaya. Our Sampradaya also includes Narada, another Mahayana. Sambhu, or Lord Shiva, is still another Mahayana. He has his own Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. And similarly, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, has the Sri Sampradaya. So we must belong to one of these Sampradayas. Sampradaya Vyena Yamantrastanis Phalamata, if you do not belong to a bona fide Sampradaya, originating from a Mahayana, then your religious process is useless. You cannot concoct some religious system. So whether you follow the Christian Mahayanas or the Vedic Mahayanas, it doesn't matter. But you have to follow the Mahayanas. If a Christian says, I don't believe in St. Thomas, what kind of Christian is he? It doesn't matter which Mahayana we are discussing. The real Mahayana is he who is strictly following the principles enunciated by God. Then he is following a real religious system. Otherwise, there is no question of religion. The so-called follower is simply a monodharmi, a mental speculator. Mental speculation is not religion. Religion is the order of God, and one who follows that order, he is religious. That's all. Pusta Krishna, then as far as I can understand, Srila Prabhupada, you're saying that there's no need to maintain sectarian labels, that there's one religion in the world. Srila Prabhupada, one religion exists already, how to love God. This is the one religion. Will the Christians say, no, we don't want to love God? Will the Mohammedans say, no, we don't want to love God? So religion means how to love God, and any religion that teaches how to love God, that is perfect. It doesn't matter whether you are Christian or Muslim or Hindu. Dharmam tu saksad Bhagavat Pranitam, real religion is directly enunciated by Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, says, surrender unto me. Of course, you cannot surrender until you love. For instance, you are surrendered to me. Even though I am not from your country, because you have love for me, you surrender. If I say, do this, you'll do it. Why? Because you love me. So when will there be surrender to God? When one loves God, when one reaches the platform where he thinks, oh Lord, I love you, I can sacrifice everything for you. That is the basic principle of religion. Therefore, that religion is perfect which teaches its followers how to love God. So let everyone come to this platform of loving God. That is Krishna consciousness. We are teaching nothing but how to love God, how to sacrifice everything for God. That is real religion. Otherwise, it is all a bogus waste of time, simply a following of ritualistic ceremonies. That is not religion. That is superfluous. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.2.8, Dharmasvanusita pumsam visvaksena kathasuyanopadadhyadi radam srama eva hi kevalam. You are very good, you are following your religious principles very strictly. That's all right, but what about your love of God? Oh, that I do not know. So, the Bhagavatam says, srama eva hi kevalam. Your religion is simply a waste of time, simply laboring. That's all. If you have not learned how to love God, then what is the meaning of your religion? But when you're actually on the platform of love of God, you understand your relationship with God. I am part and parcel of God, and this dog is also part and parcel of God. And so is every other living entity. Then you'll extend your love to the animals also. If you actually love God, then your love for insects is also there, because you understand, this insect has got a different kind of body, but he is also part and parcel of God, he is my brother. Sama sarva subutsu, you look upon all living beings equally. Then you cannot maintain slaughterhouses. If you maintain slaughterhouses and disobey the order of Christ in the Bible, thou shalt not kill, and you proclaim yourself a Christian, your so-called religion is simply a waste of time. Srama eva hi kevalam, you're going to the church and everything is simply a waste of time, because you have no love for God. That foolishness is going on all over the world. People are stamping themselves with some sectarian label, but there is no real religion. So if all people are to come together on one platform, they have to accept the principles of Bhagavad Gita. The first principle is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you do not accept in the beginning that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, then try to understand this gradually. That is education. You can begin by accepting that there is somebody who is supreme. Now, if I say, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. You may say, why is Krishna the Supreme Lord? Krishna is Indian. No. He is God. For example, the sun rises first over India, then over Europe. But that does not mean the European sun is different from the Indian sun. Similarly, although Krishna appeared in India, now he has come to the Western countries through this Krishna consciousness movement. So you should try to understand whether Krishna is God or not. But he is God. There is no doubt about it. If you have the intelligence to understand what God is, then try to understand. But Krishna is God, undoubtedly. So take to Krishna consciousness and abide by the order of Krishna. Then everyone can come together on the same religious platform. One religion, Krishna consciousness. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes in our preaching activities we meet people who claim to be very devout Christians or Muslims but at the same time blaspheme Krishna. Is it possible that such persons can actually be associates of God? Srila Prabhupada, no. If one is serious about understanding what God is, then he will accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Once he knows what God is, he'll understand, here is God, Krishna. If he remains in darkness and does not learn what God is, then how will he understand Krishna? He'll understand Krishna as one of us. That's all. But if he knows what God is, then he'll understand about Krishna, yes, here is God. For instance, if a person knows what gold is, then anywhere he comes upon gold, he'll understand, here is gold. He won't think gold is available in one shop only. And if a person knows what God is, what the meaning of God is, then in Krishna he will find God in fullness. Krishna's tu Bhagavansvayam, Krishna himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Sastra explains what Bhagavan, or God, is, and how Krishna is Bhagavan. You should understand and see from the activities of Krishna whether he is or is not Bhagavan. It requires a good brain to understand. If I say, here is God, now it is up to you to test my statement. If you know what God is, then test my statement about Krishna, and then you'll accept him as God. If you do not know how to test my statement, then you may refuse to accept it. That is another thing. You may also accept iron as gold. That is your ignorance, you do not know what gold is. But if you actually know what God is, you will accept Krishna as God. There is no doubt about it. So this is the common platform, Bhagavad Gita. Everyone, come and take to Krishna consciousness. Understand God and learn how to love him, and your life will be perfect. Pusta Krishna, but many people claim to have the best religion, Srila Prabhupada, but we have to look at the result. How will we decide what is real religion? Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma Yado Bhakta Adhak Sahe, by seeing whether the followers have learned how to love God. If one has no love of God, then what is the use of claiming that one's religion is the best? Where is the sign of love of Godhead? That is to be seen. Everyone will say, my understanding is the best. But there must be practical proof. If someone claims to have the best religion, we ask, tell us how to love God. What is your process of loving God? If you do not know your relationship with God and others' relationship with God, then how can you love God? That process of loving God is lacking. Nobody can give a clear conception of God. If you have no understanding of what God is, where is the question of love? Love is not mere fantasy or imagination. You cannot love air. You love a person, a beautiful person. If you merely say, I love the air, I love the sky, what question is there of love? There must be a person. So who is that person we want to love? Unfortunately, most people have no personal conception of God. Nor can they describe the Lord's personal beauty, knowledge, strength, his fullness and the 6 personal opulences. There is no such description. They have some conception of God, but actually they do not know what God is. But religion means you must know God and love him. Love is something tangible. It is not merely fantasy or imagination. So we Krishna-conscious people accept Krishna as God, and we are worshipping Krishna, and we are making progress. Pusta Krishna, recently a priest visited us and admitted that he didn't know what God looks like. He couldn't say anything about God, but he said he loved God. Srila Prabhupada, then? What kind of love is it? Pusta Krishna, nor did he say his people were very enthusiastic about coming to church. He said, at best they come once a week. He said that's all that is necessary. Srila Prabhupada, well, love does not mean that you come once a week to my house. Love means you come to my house every day, give me some present, and take something from me. Srila Rupa Goswami describes the symptoms of love in his Upadsamrita, 4. Dadati Pradagarnati Gyamakyati Prakatibhunktpoje Itka Eva Sadvidam Preeti Lake Sanam. If you love somebody, you must give him something and you must accept something from him. You must disclose your mind to him and he should disclose his mind to you. And you should give him some eatable, and whatever eatable thing he offers, you accept. These 6 kinds of exchange develop love. But if you do not even know the person, then where is the question of love? Suppose you love some boy or some girl, then you will give some present, and he or she gives you some present, that develops love. You give something to eat, and whatever he or she gives you to eat, you eat. You disclose your mind, my dear such and such, I love you. This is my ambition. And he or she makes some disclosure. These are the exchanges of love. But if there is no person-to-person meeting, where is the question of love? If I claim to love somebody, but I visit his house only once a week and ask, please give me such and such, where is the exchange of love? Love means there is some exchange. If you love somebody but you have not given anything to that person or taken anything from him, where is the love? The conclusion is, religion means to love God, and that means you must know who God is. There is no alternative. You must know the person who is God. Then you can have loving exchanges with him. That we are teaching. We are asking our disciples to rise early in the morning and offer Mangala Arati, then Bhoga Arati, to the Lord in his form as the deity in the temple. Are we such fools and rascals that we are wasting time worshipping a doll? Sometimes people think like that. But that is not a fact. When you enter the temple, you know definitely, here is Krishna. He is God, and we must love him like this. That is the super excellence of this Krishna consciousness movement. We do everything definitely, on the positive platform. Is that clear? Does anyone have any further question? Pradyumna, Srila Prabhupada, you're saying we must know God before we can love him. So that means devotional service is preceded by knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, yes, that is the process given in the Bhagavad Gita. There are 18 chapters, and the whole 18 chapters are education, how to know God. When Arjuna at last comes to complete awareness, he accepts, Krishna, you are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Arjuna surrendered, as Krishna advised, Sarvadharman Parityaja. But unless you know God, how will you surrender? If some third-class man comes and says, surrender to me, will you do that? Why should I surrender to you? You must know, now, here is God. I must surrender. 18 chapters describe God and how to know God, and then Krishna proposes, surrender unto me. Then Arjuna does it, yes. So without knowing God, how can you surrender to him? It is not possible. So the Bhagavad Gita is the science of how to know God. The preliminary science. If you want to know more, then read Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you are in intense love with God, read Chaitanya Charitamrita, how your love for God can be still more intensified. That is Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary book, to understand God and surrender. And from the surrendering point, further progress, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. And when the love is intense, to make it more intensified, that is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was mad after God. He cried, Sunyayidam Jagat Sarvam Govindavaranami, I find everything vacant without Krishna. That is the supreme ecstasy. So these things cannot happen without love. If you love somebody and he's not there, you find everything vacant. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt this way about Krishna, lover and beloved. Sunyayidam Jagat Sarvam Govindavaranami, I see everything vacant without Govinda. That is the supreme stage of love. Is that clear or not? Pradyumna, there's just one more thing, Srila Prabhupada. What's the minimum knowledge one must have too? Srila Prabhupada, God is great. That's all. God is great. Krishna proved that he's great. Therefore he's God. Everyone says, God is great. Allahu Akbar, the Muslims say, God is great. And Hindus say, Param Brahma, you are the Supreme Spirit. So God is great. And when Krishna was present, he proved that he is all great. Therefore he's God. If you accept that God is great, and if you find somebody who is great in everything, then he is God. How can you deny it? You can see how great Krishna is simply by considering his Bhagavad Gita. 5,000 years have passed since Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, and still it is accepted as the greatest book of knowledge all over the world. Even people from other religions who are really learned accept it. That is proof of the greatness of Krishna, this knowledge. Who can give such knowledge? That is the proof that he is God. Krishna has all opulences in full, including knowledge. Other than here in Krishna's words, where is such knowledge throughout the whole world? Every line is sublime knowledge. If you study Bhagavad Gita scrutinizingly, you'll understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. 13. The way to peace boost to Krishna. Next question, Srila Prabhupada. Do you envision a different role for the Vedic culture in the Western countries, where the influence of other great religions has been felt for centuries? Srila Prabhupada: No. There is no different role. God is one. God cannot be two. As Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, 7.7, Mataparataram Nanyat Kinsadasti Dhananjaya, there is no authority superior to me. That is God. Now people have to understand that Krishna is God. There is no different role for the Vedic culture. The role is the same worldwide. 5,000 years ago, Krishna said, I am the supreme authority. There is no authority superior to me. He is still so. Therefore we are simply attempting to introduce Krishna. Previously nobody attempted to introduce the supreme authority, Krishna, all over the world. We are just trying to introduce Krishna, following the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago. He is Krishna, and he wanted this Krishna consciousness to be spread all over the world. Prathavidakyata Nagarati Grama Sarvatra Prakara Hive Moranama in every town and village throughout the world, said Lord Chaitanya, the chanting of my holy name will be heard. Krishna is not just for India. He is for everyone, because he is God. In Bhagavad Gita he affirms, Aham Bhya Pradipita, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities, not just the living entities in the human society, but also all other living entities, like the aquatics, the insects, the plants, the birds, and the beasts. Everything is there in the Vedic culture, but this culture of Krishna consciousness, which is summarized in Bhagavad Gita as it is, had not been preached properly. Everyone had interpreted Bhagavad Gita in his own way, to satisfy his own whims. We are just trying for the first time to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, and it is becoming effective. So this is not a different role for the Vedic culture. It is the actual role. Nobody had tried for it, therefore Krishna had been unknown in the Western countries. But even though we have been attempting to introduce him for only a few years, still, because it is reality, Krishna consciousness is being accepted. So it is not a new role for the Vedic culture. The role is already there, to preach Krishna consciousness. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's vision. He says especially to people born in India, Bharata Bhumite Manusya Janmahilayara Janma Sartaka Kari Kara Para Upakara. Anyone who has taken his birth as a human being in India, Bharata Varsa, should make his life successful and work for the upliftment of the whole world. Indians are meant for this business, for the upliftment of the whole world, because all over the world people are unaware of Krishna. So anyone who is born in India should attempt to broadcast the message of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. That is the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is not a new role for the Vedic culture. The role is already there. 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke of it. But all the various swamis and yogis who came here, they never introduced Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now it is being done, and people are accepting, naturally. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. So if everyone joins, either Indian or non-Indian, in this movement, there will be one religion and there will be peace. Peace will prevail. This is the only way. Bhaktaram yajnate pasam sarvalokam ahesvaram shurdam sarva bhutanam jnatvam santamarkadya person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. This is the way to attain Santi, peace. Understand Krishna, that he is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend of everyone. Accept Krishna as your friend. You'll be happy. This is the message of Krishna consciousness. 14. Return to real life. Pusta Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. The final question is, what is your view regarding proselytizing, or preaching? Srila Prabhupada, we are simply attempting to bring people to the real understanding. Krishna says, Mama evam so yua bhuta, all living entities are part and parcel of me. He says, Sarvayana Sukhantiya, Aham Bhya Prada, of all forms of life, I am the seed-giving father. In other words, the natural position is that every living entity, animals, plants, and human beings, including Indians, Americans, Czechs, everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. So our Krishna consciousness movement is not a process of trying to convince people of some speculative idea. This movement is actually bringing people to their real position, that they're all part and parcel of Krishna. It is not artificial proselytizing, you are Christian, now become a Hindu. It is not like that. This movement is actually bringing people back to their natural position, part and parcel of God. The effects of artificial proselytizing will not stand. But when one comes to the real understanding of his position, then that will continue. This Krishna consciousness movement is that real understanding, bringing everyone back to his original position. At the present moment everyone is in a diseased condition, people are thinking they are something other than servants of Krishna. Now this movement is trying to bring everyone to the position of recognizing that they are eternal servants of Krishna. This movement is not some kind of rubber stamp proselytizing, you were Christian, now you are Hindu. After all, if one does not know what his position is, what benefit will he derive by simply being stamped Hindu? Pusta Krishna, no benefit. He'll still be in ignorance of his real, spiritual identity. Srila Prabhupada, if you keep someone on the ignorant platform, then what is the benefit of making a Christian or a Muslim into a Hindu? No, artificially changing someone into a Hindu will not help. One must know the philosophy of life. One must know what God is. One must learn how to love God. That is real life.